I'm sorry, at one point it took 2 cups to go up 0.01. So by going from 1.05 to 1.10, it's taken about 11 cups. Okay, go ahead and set that there. Take our final reading, and I think we're going to either be right on 1.1 or maybe just a little over, and being a little over is just fine. Again, the specific gravity will measure how much sugar is in your contents, and it tells you what your potential alcohol volume is. And at 1.10, you can have up to about 14% possible alcohol. So while it's very hard to read there, we are right at exactly 1.10. It's still turning. It's kind of hard to stop it, but we're right at the 1.10 mark. So we have finally added enough sugar, and now it's time that we can go ahead and add the rest of the ingredients that we need. So the first thing I'm going to add is the yeast nutrient. It says 1 teaspoon per gallon. I'm only going to go ahead and add 3. I think 5 is a little too much. Find what will fit in there. Looks like that quite doesn't either. So this is only a quarter, so I'm going to need quite a bit of these. So that's a quarter, a half, 2 3/4, and 3 teaspoons. Good thing I ordered more of this because I'm just about out, just like that. Now we've made 3 batches total, and this has lasted the past 2 now. So it looks like this lasts about 3 good batches of wine. The next thing to add is the Potassium Metabisulfate. Again, this will kill any of the wild yeast, bacteria, anything like that. And it says that you add 1/4 teaspoon per 6 gallons. So I'm just going to go ahead and add 1/4 teaspoon as well. Now you can also use what they call Camden Tablets. Camden Tablets are little pills, it looks like, and you have to really crush them up good, and you typically add 1 tablet per gallon of must or per wine, so you have to use 5 tablets in this case. But I like the Potassium Metabisulfate because it's small, it's easy, and you just sprinkle it right in. And lastly, the last thing is the Pectic Enzyme that breaks down the gelatin and other materials in there that helps define your wine. It says a 1/2 teaspoon per gallon, and again, I'm only going to do 3 teaspoons. I like to edge on the side of not adding as much as what they say, just because, well, I'd rather have less in there so there's less possible taste or problems that it may cause. So there's 1. Now the pectic enzyme really is not required. The bentonite is not really required. The yeast nutrient is not really required. However, if I were to pick something, I would definitely choose the yeast nutrient over the other 3, because this will really help the yeast to get started and get going and get this and beat out any other kinds of materials or bacteria that's in the mix. The Potassium Metabisulfate is definitely something you have to have. So now we're just going to go ahead and mix all this in, and then the last bit we have to do is add our yeast. Here. So we'll go ahead and set that down and set it aside. Now the last bit here is the trap that goes right in here. Got it on the wrong side. That goes in like so. But first, let's go ahead and add the yeast. The last bit is to go ahead and add our yeast in, and then we're going to put our airlock and our top on. And it's all done. Then we'll just let it sit for a while. Now when you add your yeast, you want to make sure that you do not stir this in. It'll sit right on top of the surface, and then you'll shake it evenly throughout the surface, so that way it allows it to multiply quicker and get access to the oxygen that's in here. Okay, so there's all the yeast. And here's the lid. It's been all nice and cleaned and sanitized. I left it in the solution just because I had it. Might as well keep it in there. And now it's snapped into place. And we want to go ahead and use some of this solution here to fill the airlock up partially, and that actually looks pretty good right there. And then this, what happens is when the yeast make carbon dioxide, it pushes it up through here, and that air bubble pushes it there. And then this airlock here keeps outside air from entering. It is now day 2 of the fermenting process in the primary fermenter. Here you can see the airlock bubbling. That is the carbon dioxide escaping the wine that's being created inside the fermenter. When the bubbles slow down, which will probably be another 4 or 5 days, then it'll be time to rack up or put it into the secondary fermenter, which is going to be the better bottle, so that way the oxygen cannot have as much room. And we will bring that to you in the next part of the video.